Well, everybody, the game is here, Starfield. It's been a long time coming. A lot of people have been very excited, dare I say hyped, and many of us on the other side of the fence have tried to remain pretty skeptical, open to being convinced that this game is going to be amazing and awesome, but not losing our minds over it, trying to avoid irrationality, in other words. Well, now we have Starfield, we can play it. I actually just did a pretty comprehensive review of the game yesterday. Feel free to check that out. I'll have it linked in the description box below if you have not seen it already. But in this video, I wanted to go through and actually hands-on with the game, show you what I think really works, what I think doesn't really work too well. And we're going to talk about whether or not the skepticism was justified in this case. Does Starfield live up to the hype or not? As always, make sure to like the video if you enjoy it, share it with a friend who wants to talk about Starfield nonstop, and make sure to subscribe to be notified of when my huge critique for Starfield comes out, because let me tell you what, the project we've been working on to give this game a deep dive is gonna be freaking massive. So multiple hour critique incoming. Again, make sure to subscribe for it. But if we're just gonna start the game off brand new, let's actually go here, new game. I'm not gonna load into any late game sections or spoil anything for you. We're gonna start at the top and then we'll bounce around a little bit and I'll show you some of what the game has to offer. I mean, first of all, I think the logo introduction, super slick, super smooth. I really like it. It's a planet, but then also the logo, oh, it's crazy. Soul date May 7th, 2330. Argos, extractors, mining outposts, the moon of Vectera. Now, personally, this whole opening sequence reminds me like crazy of the original Red Faction game. If you've never played that, I encourage you to go back, look at it. You start as a miner on Mars. It's just uncanny how similar these introductions are. It's really cool. This is also interesting because this is the first time we really get to see the graphical quality up close. On the one hand, I think they've done a ton of work to improve like clothing, metal, mesh quality, all sorts of texture quality I feel is improved. Animation quality also is improved over like Fallout 4. I still wouldn't say this is directly going to compete with some of the head honchos and major competitors in the AAA space. Like, I still think Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty still looks a good bit better than this, but this for Bethesda is very, very good. I think it's graphically very impressive, especially compared to what we've seen in years past. Now, in terms of actual performance, I can turn on this little display in the top left so you can see what we're running at. We are sitting, in most cases, around 130 FPS, and that is with the given settings. If I go display, you can see all of this stuff slightly tweaked in some instances. But if we, for example, go just ultra, you'll see the game by default sets dynamic resolution to on and render resolution scale to 75%. I don't want that on. I'm going to turn it off. I just want to see how the game runs natively. And it also enables FSR2 by default, which I cannot stand. Once again, there is no DLSS. There is CAS, which is contrast adaptive sharpening, which in my opinion is also not very good. So if we just turn it all off, let it render natively at 4K, what is the performance like with everything on Ultra running with these stats, as you can see up here? And if we back up, you'll see that now it drops into the 80s, but still very, very solid as far as I can tell. Not really any hitching. Frame times are all pretty close to each other. It's actually pretty polished, right? Now, granted, this is only in the first few minutes of the game, so it very well might change in the next coming minutes, but let's give it a chance. Let them cook and keep going. You know who you are? Oh, this is where we actually get started with the character creator. And it's actually more robust than I was expecting. There's a good number of starting profiles, which are pretty standard for these types of games, kind of a baseline that you can build off of. This guy looks just generic enough to be kind of like me. So let's move in here. We can change the body type around, which, I mean, let's just go like full, I don't even know. What is like a thin, heavy person? A normal person? I don't know. Let's go dead center. I don't want to piss anybody off by being like, oh, let's go all porky. Oh no, let's go scrawny. I don't want to do that. So let's just go dead center. You can also select different walk styles, which I find it funny that there's two. One's like very bum ba da ba da bum, and the other is much more graceful. It's just funny to me. Okay, now let's do skin tone as white as they come. And now we can tweak stuff around. Oh, that's upsetting. Okay, that's good enough. Now here we can select our background. This is where the game actually gets like really interesting, where you can select these backgrounds, or you can just do file not found, where you just assume that nothing about your past is known. It's just a blank slate. And here there's just a ton. Now, what I chose in my first run, for example, was the diplomat. This basically just means that you are probably leaning into more a persuasion build, a charisma build, as you might have seen in other games, where most of your problems can be settled by just talking it out. However, others that I would personally recommend would be something like Long Hauler, which gives you the weightlifting perk to begin with, which allows you to carry more stuff, which will be important because you're going to start to collect a bunch of garbage in your inventory. And also piloting, which is useful, especially as the game goes on, to level up so that you can gain the ability to fly like class B and C ships, which are way cooler, but you can only get access to those once piloting as a skill has been upgraded fully. So that's a good one to have early on. And others to just be aware of would be things like the Professor. These are very, very niche skills, and I would say they lean more into like end game styles of play, like base building, where you need to do a lot of research and things in order to get the ability to build cooler and cooler stuff. So it's good to have, but early in the game, for the first like 10-20 hours, this stuff is not going to be super useful, just frankly. Oh, and this one, Bounty Hunter. This gives you the boost pack training perk right up front. You have to have this perk learned in order to use the boost in the packs that you'll find in the game. If you don't have the perk, you can jump and then press spacebar again or A again, and it just won't do anything. So just be aware of that. It's something you have to also equip as a skill. I think most people are going to do this because the boost pack is kind of a must if you want to be able to explore planets and environments fully, but who knows, maybe there's going to be some people that just don't like it. And you might be wondering, why wouldn't you just get the perk and use it? Well, some packs don't have a boost with them. They have some really good perks, but they also don't have the boost pack ability. It's just kind of like a med pack, for example, which gives you better healing and items and stuff. So it's up to you as to how you want to build out your character and what you want to have equipped and when, but I think that the boost pack is kind of a must. Way better than just like having a med pack or something. You know what? Let's break my own advice. I'm going to be a professor. Why not? Let's just see how weird things get. Now from here we get to pick traits. These are interesting and have been discussed at length. There's a good number of stuff here like kid stuff. I picked this in one of my run-throughs where you actually get to visit your parents, but you have to send 2% of your credits home to them every week. For me, it always ended up being 500 credits, even though that was way less than 2% of my credits that I had on me. So I don't know why they determined 500 credits was the standard, but maybe it was a bug. I don't know. But in my experience, the kid stuff perk only requires you to send home like 500 credits every week. Again, it's probably a bug, but that's something to note. Oh, I also use the hero worshipped ability. This gives you that fan from Oblivion that follows you around and never shuts up about how amazing you are. So I also did that. And I tried Dream Home as well, which gives you a customizable house on a nice peaceful planet, but you have to pay off 125,000 credit mortgage with Galbank in order to actually like use it and keep it. And they say that it has to be paid weekly. I don't think that's correct. I bought it, I paid the 125,000 credits, and then it just didn't need to be paid weekly after that. I just owned it free and clear for like multiple hours in game. So as far as I'm aware, they don't like come back and tell you you owe new mortgage. So I honestly don't know what this is talking about. You don't have to do 125,000 credits weekly in game at least. But again, maybe that was a bug that it didn't trigger. I don't know. I'm going to use the Wanted perk, which allows mercenaries to randomly spawn and come to attack you. I'm also going to go in and I'm going to be a member of the Serpent religion, the religion of the Great Serpent, which disqualifies me from these other religions, but that's okay. And I'll go with hero worship so we can meet that guy. And then after that, we're pretty much done. We hit R. I type in my name. I'm going to be Lukeler. Actually, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to do Luke and then confirm that. And right here, the game opens up where you can see the vast expanse for the first time. You might recognize this from one of the earliest trailers we got of the game. So you can see hills in the distance and a ship coming in to land. How beautiful, how dynamic and quirky. Just like that, whoosh, skadoosh. There we go. And I don't know about you, but when I see a game like this that opens up with these vast expanses, my immediate reaction is to just run. I just want to go and see what is available to explore. So let's do that. This is actually something I like doing in Bethesda games and RPGs in general, because I like to just see if they've accounted for somebody just being like, screw that, and just going for it. And often they actually surprise you and they support more than you would think. You can just kind of run off and break it if you want to. I will say Starfield is a lot more rigid as a game. It's closer to Fallout 4 than Skyrim in terms of what is like actually available for you to do. If I go here, I'm actually gonna favorite the cutter down here, not console commands. They put console commands tied to the tilde key. So if you accidentally hit it while trying to hit escape, it just pulls up the menu. There you go. There's a little aluminum. That's how you're actually going to go around mining stuff for crafting bases and things like that. And if you want to find them a little more easily, you have to equip your scanner, but we don't have that equipped yet because we just started. And here we are at the top of that mountain we saw in the distance, just chilling. They actually let you run off and I guess just ignore Barrett as he lands and then just wander off and do whatever. That's kind of cool. Now, of course, you do have to go back and speak with them. That's where we were. There's no other way to leave this area or the planet unless you do so, as far as I'm aware. I'm sure speedrunners will figure something out, though. But I do think this is a good opportunity to just show you what most of these planets are like. Most of them are going to be procedurally generated areas about this size where you'll land over there and then you can run off and explore. But normally there would be 3 to 5 points of interest plopped randomly across the map. Maybe one over there, maybe one over there, maybe one back over there. And you can run to those and explore whatever they are. However, everything else will just be empty like this. It will just be valleys and gorges and hills and mountains that you can run on, with the occasional spot to mine something. Like you see that up there. We have a little rock. It looks like we're going to be able to mine that. Let's see. Yep, sure enough, that was water. It was, I guess, frozen water. I'm assuming. I don't know why else it would be solid. Oh, but if we pull up our map, you can actually see a point of interest over here on the map. Now, one thing I didn't mention in my review, which I wish I had, was how terrible this on-planet map is, the surface map as it's called. I just find this thing so painfully difficult to read or figure out where I'm going or what to do. It's also just very unintuitive. I just personally really don't like how they did this. But I mean, these are the planets we're dealing with. We're looking at actual solar systems to explore. It's pretty crazy. But now I'm curious what that point of interest was. So I'm gonna run and figure out what it is. And this is what I think BGS is hoping you do, that you go to a planet, you see something like that on your map, and then you wanna just go figure out what that is. So you run off, explore, try to find it yourself, and then you move on to the next one. The difference, I think, between this and a game like Skyrim is that in Skyrim, you're just kind of bouncing around the map. You just run from here, over there, back over there, all the way back over here. And all along the way, you're discovering new interesting things. in Starfield, it doesn't really work like that. Because the maps are pretty big and mostly empty, you have to go and very precisely and intentionally seek things out to do. This is not really a game where you're going to be stumbling onto a lot of stuff. Okay, the point of interest is marked just down ahead of me. It looks like maybe it's a cave down there. Let's see. Oh, yep, it's a cave. Let's go inside. What's the worst that could happen, right? Okay, like big crystals on the ground. Oh, something over here like a med pack. Yeah. Superfood paste kit. Love it. I don't see anything else. This is a dead end. What about over here? We can mine these things. They'll kind of break apart and then we can harvest them to get some benzene, but this is also, it looks to be a dead end as well. Well, it kind of seems like that's all there is here. Just a couple of med packs. Let's try to jump. Oh, I failed that. Let's try to get up there, see if there's something tucked away. Oh, there is. Okay, what's this? We've got some random stuff, some ammunition. Okay. Some of that, some credits. A trash bin, some wire, and a box that you can't open. Okay, well, that seems to be everything in this cave. Okay, well, you know, it's something. Now, I know that it might seem like I'm trying to be intentionally dismissive, but what we just encountered is what you will see in most of the dynamic encounters you'll come across in Starfield. There are civilian settlements, there's outposts, there's mercenaries you can find, there's pirates that you can fight if you don't align with them. There's stuff like that to be found in the game, and those are certainly, I think, more interesting than that. But personally, coming off of like Skyrim, Fallout 4, whatever, whenever I see a cave like that, I get really excited. Like, wow, they actually marked it on the map, but you can see we fully explored it. It's marked as explored now, and that's it. Besides our main objective over here, that's all that's here. And there was like almost nothing there. There was a med pack and then some credits and a little bit of ammo. Oh, and the wire. We can't forget the wire. And this is something the designers have to ask themselves is how do they make exploration fun? How do they reward the player for doing this, where they left this area, ran all the way over here on foot, something that has taken 10 to 15 minutes to do. I know we trimmed it down so it's nice and quick for you, but this is not a quick process. There's no vehicles, there's nothing like that. And so to see this take this long for such a poor payout is just kind of underwhelming, and it discourages you from wanting to run off in the distance and explore stuff. But I hear you. You're saying, Luke, you're supposed to be talking with them. You're not supposed to be exploring right now. And okay, I think that's generally fair. Maybe it is the case that they just simply haven't gone to the trouble of building out this area because this is supposed to be a prologue area. So let's jump to a different save where we can go to just a random planet and see if it holds up. Okay, here we are at a save much later in the game with a lot more stuff explored. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do any story spoilers or anything like that. What I do wanna do is go to like a late game area where there's some really high level enemies where you'd expect there to be some really good loot. Here you can see this system is rated level 70. So let's go. Let's see this one. It says fauna are abundant, flora is abundant, water is safe. High oxygen, it's temperate, it's a rock type planet. This looks like it could be interesting to explore. So let's actually go over here and explore it. That is right after I lose some weight because apparently I am over encumbered. Please hold. Oh, this is also funny where I'm at. Look, there's trees floating in the sky. I'm not joking. There are trees floating in the sky. Because oh, there's another one. Just cuz I don't remember seeing that in my previous gameplay session where I was here and I saved on exit, but yeah, there's just like a bunch of trees floating in the atmosphere. Maybe it's because we're on like an alien planet and that's a feature. Maybe it's not a bug, it's a feature, but yeah, there's trees floating. Okay, back over here. We go here, we select this planet. I can set the course to it, and then I hold down jump. And then there's a load screen. And then we're here, we can select the planet, open the map. There's another load screen as we select an area to land. You can see there's craters here. We can also select the mountain type. I can also scan the planet, which will tell us roughly what resources are where. We could go to like frozen mountains, regular mountains, craters. I think the craters are going to be more interesting to see. So let's go over there. And then another load screen. There we go. Then we land in a procedurally generated area. Boopy doop. And voila. And okay, here we are back in our ship. You can see all of our friends are here hanging out, all of our companions, including our adoring fan. You gotta love it. And here we are, actually outside on an alien planet with a bunch of weird floating eyeballs looking at us. What's there not to love? Now, one thing you'll also notice is my ship. This is a ship I initially stole from some pirates, and then I customized the crap out of it, built it into like a big battleship with some crazy weaponry. It's pretty badass, if I do say so myself. I mentioned in my review that my favorite part of Starfield was the ship customization, and that still holds true. I think it's just really cool that you can build your own spaceship, and it's not like prohibitively confusing or difficult to do. It's something you can actually do pretty early in the game. So I just think it's awesome. I think it's the best part of Starfield. But anyway, here we are on a randomly selected planet on a random location within the planet. If we look around with our scanner, you can see a couple of points of interest that have been generated. The landing area and then the shield breaker, which is the name of the ship. Those don't really count as a point of interest, but over there you can see another one, unknown, with like a signal sign, and then another unknown location over there. So this one is about 1 kilometer, that one's about 1 kilometer away, and then this one is a little bit less than that. So I say we go for the farthest one just to see what's over there. If we pull up our map after we close down our scanner, you can see wait, hold on, show me the surface map, G, and then you can see kind of what we're dealing with. Again, you see what I mean about the map? Like, what is this even telling me? It's just painful to look at. But let's run over here and look at the points of interest off in the distance. Now, for demonstration purposes, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna run there in real time, jumping and boosting and sprinting along the way. My ship is right there, it's over there, and I just want you to see how far we have to go and how long it takes without anything extra, without any other little encounters, just running in a straight line. I want you to watch this little time lapse and then tell me with a straight face that vehicles like motorbikes or rovers or something would not have been a welcome addition, okay? Here we are at the ship. Timer started. Now, let's go. It's over there. Whichever one, it doesn't matter.
Who's the super cool cop? It always gets the bad guy. Donut boy! That's me, yeah. He brings a delicious assortment of sweet delights. Donut boy! Got a creamy filling.
And here we are. We just made it. I don't know how long that was, but that is like just really, really kind of boring as far as exploration is concerned. There's just like not much between it. There's randomly generated little like noids, I guess they're called, little creatures that might pop up. There might be a couple of things that you could mine if you want to, but I don't consider those enough to make that little run we just had to do interesting. It just doesn't quite do it. And now that we're here, let's actually see what there is to find in here. So there's these little noids, which we can like scan. They're fearless, they're sedative, okay, or sedative. I need a sedative if that's what I think. A dung pile, some antibiotics, adhesive, cobalt, okay, some argon, love it. Now I'm over encumbered. Love it less. And now we're just gonna shoot the crap out of these things, I suppose, and clear out the hive for some reason. I don't know what they did wrong, but we're gonna kill them. The adoring fan is very insistent on it. There you go. Oh, there's another one. Okay. Is there anything else? More dung. Nope, that was it. Okay, so we ran all that way to come and kill some worm things and to dig through some poo. I'm not exaggerating, but there's something glowing over there. That looks interesting. Let's go see what that is. Okay, they're like mushroom things. Can I... Oh, I can't get them. Okay. Just for looking, no touching. Can I like cut them with my mining beam thing? No. No, I cannot. Okay, can I scan them? No, I can't. Okay, so they're just randomly placed here. Okay, never mind. So if you're playing Starfield, now you're at the point where you're like, okay, so I just found that. I cleared it. It was kind of not worth my time. What do I do now? Well, you can either select another point of interest to go and explore in this same area. In this case, we have this one right here. If I set my personal marker to it, we can run over that way and try to clear it. It's right there. Let's see what that one's like. Hopefully it's not just another covered crater, but let's see. Unexplored chemistry feature. That sounds exciting, right? Well, I can go in here, air cluster pod, interesting. And then unknown feature scanned once. Okay. It's a big tree. Okay. And fungal growths. Okay. That's the whole thing. We traveled all that way to scan 2 things. And that's it. Now we're fighting more of the worm things. Dude, he really, really hates those things. Wow. So now you're probably a little dejected and frustrated. You just wasted all that time to accomplish basically nothing. So you're going to want to go back to the ship, right? I mean, that's what you want to do. So you can either run all the way back, or because Bethesda understood you're going to be kind of sick of just running in a straight line at this point, they actually let you go back and fast travel right back to the ship. Quick load screen, and then boom, we're back in the ship. Now, this is how the game typically works. I would like to be able to just fly off into the distance and find a new spot, land real quick, and then explore that, see if there's anything else to find, or maybe search for points of interest within my ship itself, but you can't do that. Instead, what you have to do is pull up the map and then physically alter your landing location to something else. So like here, this is considered ocean, but this is volcanic coast. So we can go over here, travel, a load screen will appear once again, and then we just pop back in all landed, surrounded by more terrain. Okay, if we exit our ship, another loading screen, and then we are good to kind of look about, see if we see anything interesting. And either we could spot it by eye, or we could pull up the scanner and once again look around for anything that catches our attention. In this case, I'm not seeing anything, so we pull up the map, see if anything has spawned. And in this case, it doesn't look like a single point of interest spawned for some reason, and the map is glitching out a little. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm gonna be honest, candid moment here. I don't think I've ever spawned on a location with absolutely no points of interest. Even on like barren planets, there's usually like a windmill or a cave to find. But no, in this case, there's just literally nothing. Okay, well, well, they said we're on the coast, so let's run over and try to get to the coast. Maybe we can look off into the ocean and we'll see something that isn't noted. Oh, and I sprained my leg. So now I have to repair that real quick. Just so you know, you might see me like jumping way high, and then I have to kind of tap it again as I get lower. That's because the control for the jetpack is not like, it's not press and hold, it's toggle. So you kind of like launch yourself up, and then you have to do this little bounce on your way down. And again, maybe it's just a bug. I've not been able to find any settings in the menus to tweak that. So it just seems to be that that's how it controls, which is unfortunate because it causes you to sprain your legs all the time. This is also something that I find generally a little annoying, is that in order to repair or heal yourself of those things, you have to find the aid piece that happens to correspond with whatever that symbol is in order to cure it. In this case, immobilizer, that's going to fix that sprain, not command prompts. There we go. back all the way out, and then spray and cured, and then we're good to go. But you have to dig through the menus a little bit. Okay, and now as you can see, we just have to run all the way up over that hill. Now I could just sit here and hold down W, but instead I'm actually going to press the key that I use for auto run, which is something you can set on PC. So I'm just going to hit that, and then my hands are free, and I can check your comments on YouTube or whatever while it just runs forward for me, because there's nothing else to do in the meantime. So we're just gonna let the game play itself until something interesting happens. And here we are at the ocean. There we go. We made it. Still no points of interest have spawned. There's nothing like that. This area of the planet, for whatever reason, is just completely empty with nothing to see or find, which is really, really weird. So like I could keep running along the coast or trying to explore, but frankly, there's nothing to find. It's just more of this with no points of interest spawned. So there's nothing to see, literally nothing to see here. I can swim for a little bit, but like, what am I gonna do? There's just nothing. And you can see also you can't really zoom in close on the planet. So instead, we're like underneath this tile here. We're underneath that somewhere. So we can't see precisely where we're at. But the downside of that also is that we cannot just pop over to the next tile that's been generated. Instead, we have to jump to an entirely different tile that's generated independently. And that's important for a reason I'm about to outline. But to demonstrate this, I want to go to a different planet that might be better suited for explaining this. Let's go over to like a mountainous area over on Strix 5. What about over here? This looks like there's going to be mountains. Let's travel over here. Nope, apparently this planet just doesn't have mountains. So let's back out a little bit and just find some place with freaking mountains. Oh, I just warped in and there is somebody attacking me. So what we're gonna do, this is a good chance to show this off, is we're gonna assign all of our energy over and just try to light them up. Now, this is where your ship build is actually pretty important. So as you can see, I can shoot lasers, I can shoot ballistic stuff, and I also have these big like rockets that I can launch too. In order to break the shields though, the lasers are way more effective. So at this point in the battle, it doesn't do me a lot of good to fire these ballistic weapons. Rather, firing the lasers are gonna break that, and then I can use the ballistic weapons to actually break the hull once that has been weakened. So once we whittle it down a little further, booyah, kasha. There we go, they broke apart, they're done with. Awesome. I can come over here, loot that, and then we can continue landing as planned. Okay, here we go. We've got mountains, we've got volcanic. I love it. I'm gonna go mountains just to demonstrate the point I'm trying to make here with the tiles being totally separated. So we land here, as you can see, nice little area's been generated around us based on this landing location and the seed of the planet we are on. And here you can actually see some points of interest were generated for us. One 800 meters, 700 meters. Is there another one somewhere around us? Doesn't look like it, but there is a ship landing, so that will become its own point of interest. If it's not landing there, it looks like it is landing there, so that'll be where it's sitting. And that's cool. So that's something that can push you to go over and see what that has to offer. Usually, again, they're military encampments or something like that, but I want to show you something first. Okay, here I am. I just climbed up this mountain. There's our ship down there. Now, what I wanted to do while we're up here is to demonstrate something that might be a little hard now that it's all foggy and tough to see. But let's just say right here is the invisible wall. In fact, the invisible wall for where you can't explore beyond is just on the other side of that hill. It's just beyond like 4 to 8 kilometers from your ship is where it's usually drawn. Sometimes I've seen it drawn like 2 kilometers from your ship. Other times it's farther. I don't know why or what determines that. Again, maybe it's just a bug and it's supposed to always be 8 kilometers. I have no idea. But let's just say that like the line was drawn maybe right here. Okay, so I see this mountain in the distance and I want to go explore it. I want to go get to the top of that mountain. Just like Todd Howard said back in the day about Skyrim, I see that mountain, I want to climb it. Well, the problem is that if the invisible wall is right here, because you can't actually just set your landing zone over here a little bit or over on this corner or whatever so that it then overlaps, because you can't do that, instead what you have to do is go to this menu and try to get as close to it as you possibly can. But because we're talking about planets, I don't want to click the thing, so I have to go just off. Oh, it keeps selecting automatically. Hold on. Like right there is probably about as close as I can get it without it clicking the button. If I then travel to that landing zone, you will see it is completely different because it's generated with a different seed. There is no overlap. There are no overlapping mountain ranges or points of interest. It's completely different because every time you land, that landing zone is effectively a different seed that's generated. Both of these are different maps entirely. This is why I found it to be kind of like intentionally vague and potentially even deceptive when Pete Hines and Todd Howard were describing Starfield as the game that allows you to explore over 1,000 planets. It's like, sort of, they let you explore over 1,000 different seeds based on what a planet would look like, and then you can select where on that you want to land, and that will change the sub seed that's based off of the parent seed for this planet. But it's not a planet that you're exploring. You're exploring a bunch of little bitty fish bowls generated based off of seeds that are shared in common with the planet. It's not one contiguous thing. But listen, you might not care. It might honestly just not matter to you. You're not going to play Starfield in that way where you're running around trying to explore all of those nooks and crannies. It's just not how you tend to play these types of games. So it just doesn't matter to you that they approach it in that way. Maybe for you, you just want to be able to go explore the main like plotted areas of the cities or the main story. You want to mess around with some base building, and that's great. That's totally fine. There are a lot of places in this game worth exploring for their own sake. They might not be the biggest levels. They might not be the biggest cities or anything. In fact, many of them I would classify closer to villages than anything else, but places like Neon are super cool to explore. There's a lot of interesting people here, and you can have a great like 30 to 40 hours with Starfield if you play it in that classic BGS way. However, if you try to play Starfield in the way that I think they were encouraging you to, in my opinion, based off of the interviews and the media and the press stuff that they've done, I think you're actually going to have a worse time. If you go out into the world of Starfield, or worlds, I guess, of Starfield, and try to play it like a space sim, you're going to find yourself bored with repetitive content, with points of interest that mean basically nothing, and with levels and planet typographies that are all extremely similar and just frankly not that interesting. Starfield really is at its best when you play it like an old school Bethesda game, or when you play it like the Outer Worlds from Obsidian just a couple of years ago. That's when Starfield is at its best, when you play it that way. If you try to play it like a space sim, you're gonna be very disappointed. And this was something I was frustrated with Fallout 4 over, and that is that if you listen to the media interviews from Todd and the other devs as they worked up to the release of Fallout 4, if you look at kind of how they framed the whole game, it really seems as though Fallout 4 is built to be this pretty intense emotional narrative role-playing game with a Bethesda twist on it, but really that's not how you should play it if you want to have the most fun. If you want to have the most fun, you play it like an open world adventure shooter that you just don't take very seriously. And in that capacity, it's actually pretty good. And for Starfield, even though they marketed this as this big space sim where you can fly around to all of these different planets, explore them freely, the universe is your oyster, it's just frankly not that. And if you try to play it that way, you're gonna be bored out of your mind. But listen, in conclusion, I think Starfield can be a really good time. I think you can have a lot of fun with it, and I hope you do. I hope you do, and I hope you kept a level head and remained skeptical during the crazy levels of hype that surrounded this game prior to its launch. As of right now, I'm recording this before the review embargo even lifts, before I know what the public reception is or what the broader review consensus was. I honestly have no idea. I haven't spoken to anybody about my thoughts on Starfield, so I'm just going with my personal opinions. But based on what I've seen with the game, I would guess that the reception is pretty mixed. I think some people are going to praise it as the best game BGS has ever made, a near perfect Bethesda game, as it were, and other people are going to look at it and see a lot of problems and things that just don't click in together really well. And if I had to guess on a Metacritic score, and now you guys, after the fact can see if I was right, I would guess that this probably is sitting at like an 85 to 86 on Metacritic. Maybe worse, maybe better. I don't know how the console versions of the game perform. I did test Starfield also on a smaller gaming laptop and it seemed to run okay. But overall, I think performance is fine. I just think if the game gets penalized, it will be because they bit off a bit more than they could chew. And as a result, the free exploration that they promised didn't quite live up to those expectations. It wasn't quite as free or as interesting as previous games. Very, very ambitious, but I just don't think they had the tools to really do this idea justice. Who knows? Maybe in 10, 15 years, we're going to get the version of Starfield everybody was hoping for. But as of right now, I think it's a solid game with the illusion of scope. And beyond that, it's just not that exceptional, unfortunately. Oh, and here we are at the invisible wall at the end of the world, where we can go no further, unfortunately. See, this time it took us 6 kilometers from the ship to run into it, but other times I've tried it, it ends up being about 4 kilometers. Other times it's 8. I don't know why it's inconsistent like that, but it seems to be about 6 kilometers, and then you run into this little invisible wall where you just can't go any further, and you have to fast travel or go somewhere else. It's just, what are you gonna do? I know what you're gonna do. Play the game in a different way. Enjoy it the way I think Bethesda probably potentially meant for you to enjoy it, which is to just focus on the quests. You can occasionally, poke and prod a little bit, but if you mess with the bubble too much, eventually it pops, and then you're gonna be kind of bummed that your bubble's gone. Okay, the analogy fell apart, but yeah, hopefully you kind of understand what I'm saying. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and share it with a friend who potentially was really, really hyped for Starfield. That's always funny. Let's be honest, they'll probably get a little triggered at me poking fun at the design of the exploration, but maybe that's why you should send it to them anyways. And of course, for all of you watching and supporting me, I love you dearly. Never think I take you for granted. You're making my dreams a reality. I am currently working on the process of buying a house for me and my wife and my 2 little boys, and I owe it all to you guys for being able to provide for them and make my dreams a reality at the same time. I mean, this is ridiculous, and I owe it all to you. So never think I take it for granted. I really don't. But with that said, thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.